Ever since the pandemic hit, we've all been stuck in our homes with our family. Schedules have changed and life is different. Long gone are the days of staying after school with your friends for extracurricular activities or hanging out. With so much time on our hands, it seems like we'd have some time to take on some new hobbies, but unfortunately, the only new thing for some of us is the amount of time we spend on our devices. Even before the pandemic started, we were really close with our phones. Well, not like that. Since the start of lockdown, we've begun to spend a lot more time on social media, according to an article on digitalcommerce360.com. From the time of its creation to now, social media has gained immense popularity. While it is an awesome way to stay connected with friends and family as well as meet new people, its purpose has evolved beyond that. It is now a platform where people can share entertaining posts, have formal discussions, replay sport highlights, advertise new products, and much, much more. Now, don't get me wrong, I love social media, but with such a multitude of functions, it can become a very dangerous tool if not used in moderation. However, the creator of these social media sites want us to stay on their websites as long as possible, and I'll explain why. The propaganda model consists of 5 filters, as we already know. 2 of these filters play a large role in the way that we consume social media today: the advertisement and ownership filter. You see, social media creators, aka the elite, care most about one thing: making money, and they do this through advertisements. You go on any social media website, you can see an ad every couple of posts or videos, but how do they get us to see as many of their ads as possible? Through addictive tactics. One tactic is the infinite scroll, which plagues sites such as Instagram. According to Mr. Raskin, the creator of the infinite scroll, these social media websites are made to be addicting so that their sites can get funding or their stock prices can go up. Other ways social media sites can capture the attention of users is through the use of an algorithm. According to an article on sproutsocial.com, the social media algorithm helps sort content on relevancy, essentially tailoring our social media experience to our behavior. As an avid cat lover, I find it difficult at times to restrain myself from watching cat video after cat video on Instagram or YouTube when I know I have better things to do. And just when I decide to stop, I see another cat video, which I click without hesitation. And who do I have to thank for the slew of cat videos? The algorithm. The point of these algorithms is to make sure we spend as much time on their site as possible, since sites like Instagram makes its revenue off of ads and sponsored content. A former YouTube engineer has revealed that the algorithm isn't really meant to show us videos that we might enjoy, it's actually to waste our time. These sites don't care for our mental health. They're just in it for the money. Most, if not all, social media websites aim to use our attention as currency, and they're doing a damn good job of it, especially for us teens. I put a social media survey on School Loop News the other week to get a gauge of how teens use their social media. Here's a short summary of the data. 65.5% of the 87 survey respondents on a scale of 1 to 5 chose a rating of 3 to 5 on their ability to control social media usage, with 1 indicating a great control over their own usage. The average time spent on social media each day totaled up to around 3.22 hours, and the reasons for spending their specified time on social media varied, but the response that occurred the most is that they were bored. From this sample, it's clear that social media usage can be hard to control amongst teens. Now, how much do people use social media from a nationwide perspective? According to an article on Broadbank Search titled Average Time Spent Daily on Social Media, with the latest data from 2020, the average amount of time spent on social media is around 2 hours in North America, and that number is predicted to increase as time goes on. These statistics on the amount of time people spend on their devices made me think about the Ephemera in Ben Franklin's piece, the sombering idea that we only have so much time on this earth before we all go away. And so, we need to make the most of our lives. But for some of us, one of the biggest obstacles in achieving such a life is, well, these guys, and other devices that we might own. Let's say that every morning we wake up at 7 and go to sleep around 11. From the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, we have 16 hours to do whatever we need to. That means 14 hours left in the day to do whatever we need to. No big deal. Well, if we view this from a different perspective, we are spending up to 730 hours a year on social media, maybe even more. This is basic math, but it has caused a profound change in the way I use social media. I found myself thinking, what am I doing with my time? It kind of gave me a mini existential crisis, but it also gave me the profound realization that I'm wasting away on my phone. So, like any self-improvement lover, I looked into reasons for people's social media consumption habits and try to find ways to reduce the amount of time we spend on social media unproductively. One of the main reasons why we check our phones so often is because the notifications we receive occur at unpredictable times. Often, dopamine, the feel-good chemical in our brains, flow through our system when we receive these notifications and make us feel happy. As a result, we continue the behavior. In psychology, this is known as a variable interval reinforcement schedule and often results in steady response rates. Another potential cause for social media addiction is because checking our phones has, become second nature. When we're waiting in line or when we have free time, we usually pull out our phones. Not to mention, our phones are really convenient tools, allowing us to access a variety of things within a couple of taps. So, how do we fix our attachment to social media?
I present to you a modest proposal. Don't go on a 30-day media detox or even a year of no media. In fact, just destroy all our phones, abandon humanity, and okay, you know what, I'm not gonna do this again.
There's some legit solutions to help fight against the algorithm and the addictiveness of social media. A solution that I thought of is switching around the order of your apps. The other day I was messing around with my phone and relocating the apps so my home screen would look nice. Throughout the day, when I checked my phone, I would often open the wrong app because I was so used to a specific app being at a particular spot. This is a phenomenon known as classical conditioning. Without saying so much psychological jargon, classical conditioning is a type of learning in which responses occur when seeing or hearing a certain stimuli. These responses become automatic after being paired with the stimuli consistently. For example, before I reorganized my apps, Reddit was on the leftmost side of my dock, and so my brain would always think that Reddit would be there. But after reorganizing the home screen, I would still click on the leftmost side of my dock without much thought. By taking advantage of a way in which we learn, I've become more mindful of my phone habits, since I actually have to make an effort to think about where the app is. And that brief window to think allows me to question why I'm going on the app in the first place and stop myself from mindlessly opening the app. As discussed in class before, when talking about fighting procrastination, we can make it harder for us to access these devices. Some suggestions in class were to put your phones elsewhere or work in an environment where people made sure you weren't getting off topic. But there are many other ways to go about controlling our cell phone usage.
But I have a solution that I think that's much better than this, and it's called digital minimalism. You might be rolling your eyes at the word minimalism, but hear me out.
Digital Minimalism is a book written by Cal Newport, a computer science professor at Georgetown University. In his book, he discusses the power and influence of social media on our everyday lives. He utilizes the horse chariot metaphor famously used by Phaedrus as a metaphor for our souls. The metaphor describes a chariot rider who is in control of two horses, one who is noble and calm and another one who is wild and reckless. Every day we, the chariot riders, are constantly trying to make sure that the corrupt and wild horse never takes charge of the chariot. Every day is a battle. We start the day anew and have the opportunity to allow the noble horse to guide us. But due to outside forces such as the algorithm, the bad horse can be hard to tame. For some of us, the bad horse overtakes the chariot, and many of us may find ourselves spending hours on social media platforms like Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. A couple of months ago, my use of media was out of control. I would often stay up late going down the algorithm rabbit hole. I treated my phone like an all-you-can-eat buffet. I stuffed my face app after app with no restraint, and was, in a way, feeding the bad horse.
What if there's a way to make sure that the good horse wins every time? To do so, Cal Newport introduces the idea of digital minimalism.
In order to reduce our screen time and the chances of us getting down the wormhole of social media, Newport proposes that we keep apps that enforces the app values that we believe in and happily miss out on all other apps. For example, if we wish to live a life where we can constantly improve our baking skills, we would only keep a few apps that would help us the most in our endeavor. Apps like Snapchat or Tumblr may not provide as much information as YouTube. Before I go on, I'd just like to say that digital minimalism does not mean you have to completely abandon things like memes or funny videos. It's about using our technology more carefully and not allowing its addictiveness to overcome us.
In order to become a digital minimalist, we must go through the digital declutter process.
During this process, we must think about how we use social media and must either abstain and or limit our use of optional apps, which are apps that do not serve important functions in our life. For example, a person who uses Instagram just for fun every day should abstain from use, while a person who uses Instagram for communicating with club officers should limit their use for only communication purposes for the 30-day period. Put a list of the apps you're trying to limit or abstain from somewhere, preferably a place that you see every day. During this period, try to use that time to explore things about yourself and what activities generate real satisfaction. After this 30-day period, you must put your apps through a test of strict scrutiny, making sure that the apps you chose support your values and contemplate how much you can make the most of these apps and minimize the harm it can cause.
I was a frequent user of Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube, going on these sites whenever I felt like it. But when I went on my 30-day challenge, or when I returned from it, I created strict guidelines that I could follow and specific times as to when I should or could check these apps.
I realized that besides seeing new content on my feed, Instagram added no value to my life. The only thing that I really cared about were the messages I got. So I decided to use this app as a means to check the DMs that I received. As for YouTube and Reddit, they were merely platforms for me to mindlessly entertain myself. The value that I want to take on is the desire to be constantly learning, and sites like these make it hard for me to fulfill such values. As a result, I began limiting these sites for just educational purposes, but have made exceptions to allow an entertaining video every so often. To make sure I adhered to my rules, I only kept the apps I use on the only page of my phone. I know that I don't open my phone's drawer often, so any app in there would be hardly checked. As for my computer, I try to condition myself to do all my work on Safari and access social media websites on Chrome. With this method, it became easier for me to control my media habits. Trust me, it's really awesome limiting the amount of time spent on your devices. The moment I realized I couldn't go on an app until a later time, I became bored. But then I remembered I had a huge list of things I wanted to do, such as learn new calisthenic movements and read some books I'd forgotten about. I felt pretty proud of myself, filling out the time that I felt like I used to waste with something that I considered productive. With digital minimalism and the other solutions provided, I feel like our lives can be greatly improved. In an era where technology is becoming more and more prevalent in our everyday lives, it is important that we fight back against these addictive social media sites and reclaim our power over technology once again.